everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and today we're going to continue working on fairy wings. So right now we're on page 1, and I'm just going to set aside a few of my tools and remind everyone, if you're not familiar with my albums, they're all built on a pocket page. And so if you haven't seen the video where you make the pocket page, stop right here, go to this playlist. The second video in the playlist will build the base album, and then everything from that point forward is customizing it to design around, specifically around fairy wings. Okay, so again, you're going to start with a pocket page. On page 1, you're going to need 2 of these. These are 8.5 by 8. It's 8.5 inches wide, 8 inches tall. And you're going to place this in your scoreboard with the 8.5 inch against the top edge of the scoreboard. You're going to score at 1/2 inch and at 4.5 inches. And then you're going to fold it around and fold the tab over. If it will not fold over flat, you're going to trim just a little bit off this edge until you can fold it over and it will lay flat so it doesn't bubble like that. Okay, so you are going to start with the 8.5 by 8. And then what happens is you wind up with something just slightly less than 8.5 because you need to trim this one just a little bit so that it'll fold around the hinge that's going to hold it on the page. Okay, so let's go ahead and lay this in. This is page 1. And you're going to lay these vertically on page 1. There's one, and so it's going to open and then open again, and you're going to do the same thing on the right hand side. And this one, instead of just going from the edge and coming over, I want to make sure that they meet in the middle and they don't gap. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push it into the closed flap, align it top to bottom, and then I'm going to lay it down so that it will adhere to the pocket page. Like so. Okay, so now I know that these two are going to join in the middle without having a gap. Okay, so that is page 1. And now we're going to get started decorating it. Okay, let me get my papers all lined up and I'll be right back. Hey everybody, here we are on page 1, and we've got our flaps in, and so I have not put a fastener on this yet, and I'm going to do something different. So I want to share with you my Graphic 45 tag and pocket. So this is the tag and pocket die. This is what actually comes out of it. We've got all these other little bits too, which I'm planning on using in the embellishment process. But for now, I'm going to use this tag and pocket, and we are going to create a little small flap here that's going to hold everything in place. And you're going to need both. You're going to need the pocket and the tag that goes inside of it. And I'm going to show you, I've already mocked one up. So the pocket piece right here is what is in the back. But rather than fold it here at the score line, I just glued right over it, and it becomes the perfect mat for the tag. So here it is. I cut this through the die, and then I trimmed off the tabs, these 2 tabs, and then I created a mat, and that's what this looks like. So if you take your completed and pocket, take off the tabs, lay it into your scoreboard like this. Like so. Don't fold on the score line. Lay it into here. You're going to create a new score line at 1 3/8. 1 3/8. Okay. So once you score at 1 3/8, fold it in half and then take your corner rounder and round your corners. So I folded it and I rounded my corners. Now this is going to get laid inside on the base page. You're going to close your 2 flaps like so, and it's going to be the flap that holds this all closed. We're going to do the same thing on page 8. So I've already trimmed out my black piece, which is this one. So this normally would be, if I was just trimming it from scrap, a 1/2 inch, but it's okay if it's larger. We're gonna glue that down and it becomes the piece that's gonna keep this all in place. So I'm gonna put a little tick mark here because that's my center line. I'm gonna put some tape on here. And we are gonna get this placed. And then we are gonna put a magnet on top of it and on the flap to hold it all in place. And here's my tape tear tool. And if you don't want to use this much tape, just trim this down to a 1/2 inch from the score line. I'm okay with it, so. Just means it'll be extra secure, and at the end, there'll be a mat over it, so you won't see it. Okay. Okay. Again, this is the full-size pocket with the tabs trimmed off. Lay it into your scoreboard in this direction, so this is butted against the edge of the scoreboard. Come over to 1 3/8 and score it and fold it back. Okay. Trying to decide how I want to do this. I need to mark it the center line. One and a half. That looks right. But let's double check. Nope. There it is. There's my center line. I was just off an 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so there's my center line. So I'm just lining it up with this. And then before I press it all into place, I need to make sure that these will close like so. Okay, so make sure you're testing it and that it will close. I mean, worst case, if it doesn't, you just have to reposition this score line, which you can do even after it's installed, but better if you can get it all done right the first time. Okay, that looks right. I'm gonna hold it in place. I'm gonna open this, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw a reference line there, so I know that's the top of it. Okay. I put the tape on the wrong side. It'll be okay, I guess. I'm gonna be careful and use some glue because I think I'm gonna have to maneuver it a little bit after I close the panels. Okay, it's in. It's in. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a magnets. And I'm just going to do one side, and I think I'll do this side. And it should be enough to hold everything in place. Okay. So that is done. Let's get two magnets. And the back of this will be lined. Which will make it rigid so that the perforated line will be stiff once we put a mat on this side and on the front. Okay. Okay, that is going to be what holds these two flaps closed. Okay, we'll do the same thing on page 8, but that's it for now. So I have the two A-side pieces. And I think it goes this way. Yeah, and this is an 8x8 that I've just trimmed down to the right height and split in half to go here on this page. Okay, so it's going to go like that, and then we're going to have a nice decorative mat here when I'm finished. But let's get these in first, okay? Okay, sorry about that. I had to take a quick break. I just had it in my head that I forgot to hit record, but I think we're doing okay. So we're gonna go ahead and finish laying this in. I started and had to stop, and for some reason I couldn't see the time clock moving on the video, so I didn't think I was recording, but I reviewed it and it looks like we're all okay. So that's good news. Okay. So I want to clarify something as soon as I lay this down. I told you that this is an 8x8, and it is. But then I said something that I think might be confusing to people, because I got in a comment on it once before. I said it's an 8x8 and I split it in half, but that's not entirely true. It was an 8x8, and then I trimmed it down to 8 7/8 in height. Then I laid it down and I actually created a tick mark because this panel is 4 inches wide, but I want a border around it. So if I had just trimmed these at 4 inches, they would completely cover the panel, and in fact there might be a little excess. So when I said split in half, what I really mean is I wound up splitting the image in half, but that's after I figured out where I was going to trim it. So it's not just a 4-inch panel, it's actually, it's trimmed down to fit a 4-inch, which means it's 3 7/8 by 7 7/8, at least for the size border that I want. A little heavy there. So I try to keep some wipes handy, and I don't actually use the wipe on the paper. I just use it to take it off my hands, because the wipe in my mind is too damp and you run the chance of warping your paper. Okay, but you do need something to get it off yourself once you pull it off. Okay, there we go. Now it's all set. Now I can go ahead and burnish the rest in place. Okay, and that is our closure. So that is the A side, or the closed position of page 1. And I'm not ready to cover this yet. I haven't, I really kind of want to look at this next to the inside cover, which has a lot of peach and green in it, before I choose what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to leave this uncovered at the moment, and then we will get started on getting the interior covered. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside for a second. I've got to do some trimming and inking, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, everyone, I took a few minutes, and of course we're on page 1, and I found the paper that I want to use here for this flap. Now, I too want to point out, hopefully you haven't already done it, when I made this flap, even though I pointed out that I needed to round the corners before I installed it and didn't round the corners. So hopefully you don't do that. So round those corners. Once you score it and fold it in half, round the corners, add your tape, and then apply it. I actually wound up lifting the edges and hand trimmed it, so I checked to see what it would look like without trimming it. It was just too much black around it, so I just manually did it, but hopefully you'll learn from my mistake. I can tell you that I did page 8 because I'm building the book out of sequence, and I did remember to round the corners on page 8, but I had forgotten here on page 1. I think part of that's because I did a mock-up, and I trimmed the mock-up, and then when I got to actually the one I was going to install in the book, I felt like I'd already done it. Anyway, sorry about that. Hopefully you guys are catching this before you install yours. I'm hopeful. Okay, so that's in. So I'm still working on picking out the rest of the trim pieces for the inside and getting them trimmed and inked before we move forward. But that's about it for now. When I come back, we'll do, we'll start decorating the inside of page 1. Thanks everybody. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create, and I'll be back soon with the rest of page 1. Hey everyone, here we are on page 1, and we are going to start decorating the inside of page 1. So I've got some of my papers trimmed out and ready to go. So this is what we're going to do on the inside, and both of these are from the Patterns and Solids, and that's going to be my centerpiece for the page. There we go. Oops, I forgot to ink one side. Okay. I'm placing the solid one on the bottom. Okay, that looks pretty straight. Okay, and let's see, I might need to trim this a little bit, and it looks like I do, just because I don't think this is quite straight. So I'm going to take a little bit off one side. And that should do it. Let's see. How did I do? I did it. It looks good. Let's get some ink on it and lay it down. I think I inked the other edges, yeah, just the one I trimmed. Hope everybody's doing good. It's a beautiful day here in San Diego as we are approaching the 4th of July weekend, which will be kind of unusual. My husband was just, we were just having lunch and we were chatting about it and trying to figure out if there's going to be any fireworks anywhere or if COVID's got everything kind of shut down, which it might. I think earlier we heard that they were going to cancel all that, but they kind of have a big deal here in San Diego at the Bay normally. So we were talking about maybe going to that. That looks so pretty. Okay, so I pulled this tag die in again, and I cut this out, and one of the things I did first was I cut this out, and I realized that it's going to be upside down when it's installed, so I recut another one so it'd be right side up when it's flipped open. So just FYI, think about that. If you're going to use a directional pattern on the inside of this, you need to flip it upside down because it won't be right side up when you open it. There you go. I think I've already inked it. Let's get the tape off. There we go. Okay. Isn't that lovely? I think this turned out really pretty. The tag die winds up being just pretty much perfect for the shape of some of the patterns in the collection. So it's really easy to center the little fairies in the middle of the die and just get this sort of perfectly outlined, beautiful tag, which I'll probably go ahead and back this with some black cardstock and use it somewhere as an embellishment. But for the moment, I'm just going to set it aside while we continue working on the inside of page 1. Okay, so here is, and this pulls this pattern back in, what we're going to do right here. Okay, and I'm going to double check, but I think it's all trimmed and ready to go, but let me make sure it's not going to get hung up. I think it's okay. And it's already inked, so we're ready to go. So I just want to give everybody a shout out. Hey, it's good to be back. I know I've been away a lot lately. The interior construction, painting and whatnot is finished. I don't have my house completely back in order, but it's a lot quieter. So I should be able to resume some regular schedule for crafting and creating tutorials, which I'm sure you guys will be happy to hear because I've been all over the map schedule-wise. Okay. Just making sure it still closes, and it does. Okay, so now that's a lot of yellow, but I really like it. I think it's super cheerful. Okay, so for the next pieces, what I was planning on doing is this pattern, and I'm just going to look at it for a second, make up my mind. So I'll check and see I wanted to make sure everything was in frame. So I was thinking about alternating these two patterns like so. Let me see if I like nope, I like that. Okay. I think I like Dream over here better, and then the Angel down here. So that's what I'm thinking about doing for the inside. So I'm just gonna look at this for a second. I do believe I need to trim these pieces out. I do. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna alternate that pattern. And I'm just gonna start by trimming these out to the right width, and then I'll figure out the height. And I might, let me see if I've got enough. I do. I think I'm going to, I think I'm going to use a sticker to separate the two instead of having a black line, because I think trying to get this black line to go continuous across this spread and be exactly the same is going to be a very difficult thing to do, but I haven't decided just yet. So I'm going to get these trimmed out widthwise, and then we'll take another look at it. And I don't think you guys need to sit through this, so I'm going to pause it, and when I come back, these will all be trimmed out. Okay, I got them trimmed out. So here's the plan. I am going to install these with a little black strip in between on both sides and take a look at it. And if it looks straight enough, I'm going to leave it like that. If I can't get that continuous horizontal line where it looks visually pleasing, then I'm going to use a sticker across the center to soften that edge. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and install it, planning to put this little border all the way around each one of the yellow strips or squares. Okay, so that's the plan. But if it doesn't work out, then we have a backup, which is to put a sticker strip across the center. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to put my ruler here and see how I'm doing. It looks like I'm doing pretty good. So that's good. Okay, now we'll do the top one. Okay, there we go. Pretty happy with that. now we're going to repeat the process over here. Except for I'm going to flip it. I'm going to put the solid on top and the pattern on the bottom. Okay, so I got these all trimmed out and inked, so we're ready to put these in. And yeah. Just making sure I was going on the right side. And I am. Okay. It doesn't look quite right. Maybe it goes this way. I think I need to trim this some more. Hold on. Oh, it looks like I over trimmed. That's a little too big of a gap. So I don't know how I made that mistake. Oh, because I trimmed off this size. So that's a bit bigger than I wanted it to be. Let's see if I can't finagle. See, that's too wide of a gap. So let me see if I can't find another piece of yellow that I can trim out to go here. I'm sure I can. Yep. Easy peasy. Okay. Let's go ahead and do this. Start over. Now, of course, the other way to address that, and that was part of the reason why I wasn't sure if I was going to use stickers, is if you can't get that consistent line across the pages, then the way to mask it is to put like a sticker over it. But I did so well on the other side, I think I'm going to give a shot. Try to do it again. And see if I can't get it trimmed right this time. Okay, I just need to... That's about right. And then I still need to take a sliver off the top. And then we need to get the width right. Okay, let's see if this top to bottom fits. I could even go just a tiny bit more. Okay, that should be right. Up and down. And it is. And now I need to go side to side. And I am going to measure directly off the panel below it. Okay, so that should be it. Yes, beautiful. Okay, I'm happy with that. It takes some effort, but I do like the way it looks. But if you don't want to do that, the other thing is you tape the two together and then put a contrast strip across the center. Or you don't even have to do that. You can just tape them together and trim them out as a single piece. Okay. Yeah. How does that look, guys? I think it looks pretty good. So there's the whole span from left to right. There we go. So that is the inside of page 1. And now we need to decorate these. And I just have these 2 solid strips that are going to go here. And I think I'm going to put some embellishments on here. I just don't know what they are yet. And actually, I'm going to go this side. And these still need to be trimmed down. So I rough cut these, and one of the things to keep in mind when you're trimming the designer paper for this flap in particular, both inside and out, is it's something less than 4 inches wide because we had to trim a little bit off so it would fold over on itself. So these really do need to be hand checked and trimmed based on the actual size you have. and not the size you started with. So you remember you took a little strip off here, so something to keep in mind. Okay, let's test it. That looks good. There we go. Okay, and we're going to do this side, same thing. I'm going to lay it. I need to put something under it because I can't see the edge clearly. There we go. A little more. Little more. Okay. Ready. Ready, ready. Okay, well, we're just about done with page 1. Page 1 had the most real estate to cover. So it took quite a bit of paper to cover page 1 inside and out. And of course, page 8 will be the same. Not the same designer paper, but I mean, you'll need a lot of paper to cover the inside and outside of page 8. And we have plenty. We're not going to run out of paper by any stretch. If you have the bundle, you have plenty of paper. And let's see how my edges look. There we go. Okay, beautiful. Okay, and it's likely I'll put some colorful embellishments here. What? I don't know, but it could be a tag and pocket on each side. I haven't decided. But you'll see that in the walkthrough. So again, these are from the Patterns and Solids. Patterns and Solids, same here, and then this is from the 12 by 12 collection. This is also from the 12 by 12 collection. This is from the 8 by 8. It's the smaller. And that is the end of page 1. So, okay, let's move on to page 2.